Hi guys, welcome back to Brutus Bookshop. This is my third video now. First was an introduction, second was discussing white gloves in the book trade, and today I'm actually going to show you my favourite book that I have at the moment. Not currently for sale, for good reason. It's a hard sell. Not because it's not desirable, it's because of the limitations we have around selling these types of items. Now of course I'm talking about my tortoise shell prayer book. So I'm going to try and add some photos, close-up photos, and then amongst the content of this video to kind of show better quality images of how it looks, the engravings on it, you know, the silver spine, just in general what it looks like on the inside. So it's very hard to find a tortoiseshell binding. It's no longer produced because it's obviously from an endangered species. Now, going back 100 years or so, this prayer book, which is it's a common prayer inside it. I'll just quickly show you the side. So it's a book of common prayer. So 100 years ago, well, this is probably about 120 years old, the Victorians were going for a real enthusiasm with novelty bindings. So we would consider this a novelty binding. But the use of tortoiseshell in book binding goes back even further to around the 17th to 18th century, where again it was popular in Bibles and prayer books of the day. There's some really quite fine examples, but tortoiseshell has been used for even longer, thousands of years. So the Babylonians, the Romans would trade in tortoiseshell products such as combs. They used to make fine combs. They used to make spectacle glasses frames. They'd use it for furniture veneer, inlays within furniture, even things like guitar picks and whatnot. And it was quite a commodity back then. For very valid reasons these days, it's no longer legal to produce items made from tortoiseshell. It's an endangered species. However, antique items you can continue to trade, very much like ivory. Again, a banned product to use with good reason. You know, lots of wildlife has been decimated because of us using them for novelty reasons or for medicines or whatever else they're being used for. Now, the tortoiseshell that this is made from and most commonly used was from the hawksbill sea turtle. And what they would do, whether they go and find them and kill them or whether they'd wait for them to die, who knows. Either way, it's not a practice that's done anymore, thank goodness. But what they used to do is they used to obviously remove the shell, and for it to be a usable product, it would have to be kind of flattened into these types of panels. So this is like a flat panel. Sometimes more than one panel could be fused together to kind of make a larger section. They would use hot irons and kind of press them and heat them because it's like a thermoplastic material, again, which is why it was well used, because how we use plastic these days, it kind of has the same properties as plastic. So it could be heated, molded or engraved during its softer durable kind of flexible material, and then once it's cooled it would harden again. So this is obviously, this was softened, carved into, hang on, where's the upside down, there you go. I'll try and add some photos. I'm no Steven Spielberg, I'll be honest, but I can get my head around these videos a little bit more, and I do know I can add photos in amongst the video, so I will be trying it. So if you see photos, then it's been a success. But yeah, so they would soften it, they would do the engravings, and by the time it cooled, it's gone hard again. So that's an Oriental scene, unusually an Oriental scene. You don't really find that on many prayer books, so you got to question why. Why is there an Oriental scene on this Book of Common Prayer? Could have been a missionary, so somebody from London might have had this prayer book. They might have gone over there. The textbook itself is produced in the UK. It's an Oxford University Press printing. The guy who was the university printer at the time was Henry Froude, and his tenure as university printer was between 1880 and I think 1912, thereabouts. So we know this is over about 120 years old, and it could have been used, but nobody knows. There's no inscriptions, there's no previous kind of clues to who owned this, where it's been, where it's come from. But we know the text block is printed in the UK. We know the hallmark on the spine, the silver, so this is a pure silver spine, hallmarked again. I'll try and do a close-up photo and add that into for you to see. It tells us it was done in London, so this is very much London product. Whether these panels were made in the UK, or whether it was later added by a skilled bookbinder. So they've engraved, they're not duplicates, there's similar scenes, Oriental scenes on the front and the back. So we got like the trees, people working, they've got buckets, and they've got like, can you see the rooftops of the buildings? It's yeah, strange, and we don't really know. All I know is that when I saw this, I thought, wow, that is a fantastically rare piece, because you often can find at auction tortoise shell bindings, and it's usually just a smooth surface with like clasps, silver clasps and whatnot, kind of just showing the natural beauty of the tortoise shell. What the bookbinders decided to do with these is obviously engrave into them, but also when binding the book, they've left the panels kind of, they've got them sat in this frame almost, where the light can kind of shine. You can kind of see the shine. This is what we mean by thermoplastic. When you look at it like this, that shine is very, very much like plastic. But this is very much tortoise shell. You can tell on closer inspection. You can see the kind of carvings, the markings. If it was like a mold, or if it was made from plastic, it'd be more noticeable. This is definitely kind of rough around the edges, definitely carved by hand. You can actually test whether you think it's tortoise shell or not, and what they do recommend doing, which I think somebody has done on this before, is if you heat a pin, hot pin, and you press it against what you believe to be the tortoise shell, if it kind of melts in and smells of plastic, then it's plastic. It's celluloid, which is an imitation, a very early type of plastic that was used, and it was used to imitate tortoise shell. So you'll see lots of products. So anything you see, like glasses frames, modern glasses frames, modern combs, brushes and whatnot, with a tortoise shell pattern, it's obviously made from plastic, and they've been practicing this technique for a long time with celluloid, which is again an early plastic. I've not tested this myself with a hot pin. I don't want to, but I can see on a few little spots around, there's a hole there, just a small hole, nothing on the rear board, but on the front board there's definitely a little hole there. I think a little hole at the top. So yes, it's 100% tortoise shell, and you have to be careful. So as a bookseller, for me to be able to sell this item, I actually need to apply for a permit to export. So if I was going to sell to an overseas buyer, I'd have to apply to the UK government for a permit. And you'd actually go through, I think it's the Animal and Plant Health Agency, gov.uk. I have actually contacted them about this particular product just to check to see if I need any type of certification to own it. And because it's currently in a private collection, my personal collection, I don't actually need any documentation to have this. If I was to export it anywhere, I would have to apply for the permit I've written it here, the UK government requires a CITES permit for all importing and exporting of endangered species products, including antique items. So that's the Convention of International Trade in Endangered Species of Wild Fauna and Flora. So I am no legal expert, but if you do suspect that you have a product made from tortoise shell or ivory or coral even, you have to get the correct permits from the government. So do that. Otherwise, I'll add the little screenshot to this video. You can actually be jailed for up to 7 years, and I think it have an unlimited fine. Where did I put that? Yes, unlimited fine plus up to 7 years jail time. Now, so with rightly so, because what's happening is obviously some people might try and pass this off as an antique item. So they might be actually getting ivory, which is still unfortunately being hunted, and probably tortoise shell. And what you're getting in other countries is people producing these products and they're trying to sell it off. So you can kind of see why they do a blanket ban. So the likes of eBay, you cannot sell, even if you've got a permit, they won't allow you to sell any tortoise shell, ivory, anything endangered species. You just can't sell it. It's a blanket ban. So, you know, you're going to only find these things through like auction houses or private sellers in their collections and whatnot. So, like I say, it's a very rare piece. I'm in no rush to sell it. It's very rare indeed. I've never seen one like it, and I probably never will ever again. So that's why I thought I'd share it with you guys, because like I say, it's unlikely that you're going to see one of these again. And I just want to double check. So I've talked about a lot of countries actually will prohibit the import of products like this. So even if I got the correct permits and I sold it to a buyer overseas, you have to check to see if that country will even allow the import of this type of product. It's a minefield of legislations and permits and all the rest of it. And that's designed to really complicate the process, so it becomes no longer appealing for people to be trying to sell them, because there's so many hoops you got to jump through. So they remain collectible pieces. They're only going to get rarer. And yeah, so I thought start my book sharing videos with this one. I think I've covered everything in it. I hope you like the video. I hope you like the book. I hope you can appreciate I'm not a fan of the killing of innocent animals to make products like this, but I do appreciate the beauty of this binding. And I'll make sure to keep it safe. This tortoise didn't die for nothing. It's been protected. It lives forever in this book because I'll be keeping this safe. So hope you appreciate it. I'll be looking at, perhaps I can show you, I do have an ivory prayer book as well that I might show you in a future video if you're interested. Again, how to identify real ivory, imitation ivory. Sometimes bone is used. Again, celluloid is used. But I'll go through that one with you another time if you're interested. I appreciate you following me, subscribing to me. I hope you like the content. Much love. Thank you very much.